All right, good. Everybody, so we're talking comms mode tonight. So just remember if you ever lose the screen, just let me know and I can. Sometimes it doesn't happen until I usually go to like the AHJs or the counties and stuff. Like Curtis, you know that. You're the one who will just remind me. Sometimes
Before we get off into the details, Nate, I got a kind of a just a general question, and you might
yeah,
help me with, and it might help anybody else too. But you're saying that we are essentially we run our own um, RCIC, and what I develop, no one else would be able to see. But it helps in general,
yeah,
and on the other hand, the what doesn't make any logical sense to me is that we're talking about OpenClaw or any of the work that you do on your end can be seamlessly adopted on my end. And I'm just wondering, it just doesn't seem logical. If you can do something that automatically I can take an advantage of on mine. It seems that there's a connection, and I don't understand it. So, if you could just take a
I
minute,
don't,
maybe explain how that
I
works.
don't quite exactly understand how that works myself. What I do know is that because I have the GPT and I have the developer mode and all that stuff, I everything that I put in there is to that. When I show you guys where I put those PDFs and the knowledge in the
Right.
GPT, I think that's what powers up a lot of what you guys see. I think honestly, when you guys do your own GPTs, you can connect people. You can give the link to people, um, and then they can see more. They can see what they do. Because my understanding, and I've asked it several times about that, the security, which is a big selling point because a lot of people obviously we have to deal with the daisy chains and all that stuff out here, outside of the AI, in the regular wholesaler world and all that. And I think it's a good selling point. I'd like to explore more on how to, because I've thought about that. Like we got a lot of people working together. There was a way I briefly talked about it with Willie back in October, and we were trying to figure out a messaging system at least where people you could do it, but everybody would have to have, I forget it's because we got Zapier and all that stuff that we've talked about. Trying to find a way like Slack or something where people could enter message. We could do Slack, but then everybody has to have it. And then I looked at it and said, if I have Slack and I'm supplying it, then do I have to? All of a sudden, I've got an expense or something like that that I don't have now. So I'd have to.
Yeah.
We have to.
It just was kind of hard for me to connect the dots because if I'm worked my all my kinks out, I'm onboarded, and I've got a buy box, statute kind of thing, and everything's going along, and then you make an adjustment on your end that could be an improvement. First of all, I don't know if it would fit in my scheme of things, or if it is an improvement, how do I take advantage of that, and will it fit into what I built? And all these questions come up in the when you say it's seamless. It's there's an integration there that I don't understand or can
Yeah,
connect
I'm
to.
saying
So
not on the open claw end because I understand because when I've been researching, I'm making sure this weekend I'm going to play. I'm actually going to build something like a beta or something, just kind of a prototype, kind of like how I started with RCIC. Like I was going to supply a builder to build a website for me with all this stuff, and it just became this with the AI. I think what I mean by seamless is that what I don't want to do is have something that I create that kind of just because what I've talked about like I think I probably mentioned it once or twice when you have like everybody's kind of used to now this system using GPT, OpenAI. Well, all these people are talking about Claude and all these other ones, and it's like we don't want to bring in something else where everybody's then all of a sudden got to pick up and almost start over. Whereas OpenClaw,
right,
because it's going to have a relationship with OpenAI, that makes it probably more likely to be a seamless thing because it's not going to be OpenClaw directly. What they offered him was they gave him a bunch of like $100 million, and they gave him like a deal where he can keep OpenClaw to himself. It's open source, so a lot of the other people like were bidding on him. I mean, he had Meta, he had pretty much all the big AI companies were offering him money. He went with OpenAI because they're letting him keep it open source because he's got a kind of a fan base that are using it, and it's really awesome. But what he's going to do is he's going to do the multi-agent task. So courtesy now we have agents, and we only have 40 of them, right? Well, now I'm understanding that multi-agents, you can actually then deploy agents upon agents. So think about being able to actually, these when we talk about how many foreclosures there were, 40,000 in January. Imagine
Right.
now when I keep talking about that we need more people. Well, what if we don't need more people? Now we have better people, higher quality people, and they can deploy more agents, and they can go out to the AHJs and get all the, we can do a lot more stuff with it, like the overnight deal engine that we talked about. Willie put 50 properties in a basically a
Okay.
CSV, and it all came out. It analyzed everything. Eric and Michael in Georgia are running that. They're coming within their MAO, their max allowable offers. It's like probably the best case scenario. I mean, literally, without saying that it's 100% accurate, it's so accurate that it's like, it's in within 1 to 2% of their MAO. So if your max allowable offer is $300,000, they're coming between 295 and 305, which is good. They're still making money on all their deals. So what I think it's going to help is obviously having OpenAI basically have Peter Steinberger, who's going to, he's a one-man show. People don't understand that. Like, I saw Mark Andreessen, the big venture capitalist guy. I spent like an hour and a half watching him the other night because because he's one of those funny guys. He's kind of like Elon, like, he's a billionaire, but he's got a really good background and stuff. He's talking about there's going to be several, maybe a dozen billion-dollar companies that have one person because everybody's going to be an agent. So think about that. Having a billion-dollar company and it's all run by agents. One human owns the company, is the CEO and all that, and everything's done by agents. And you think about that's how we could almost try to go. I'm not saying billion, but I'm saying we could deploy through all these processes, this multi-agent process where everybody in our group just if it's that accurate, we have people now wanting to come on and do multifamily. We have people wanting to come on storage, land, all that stuff. We got Zach Quaid, who's big into RV parks, and he actually hosted a big RV park event live, like in person. And so we can, if it ends up being, I think that's why I said seamless, because going with OpenClaw, like I'm really excited about it. Like I'm going to bring it into mine. I don't know how easy it is if I build something there because I haven't done it. If we're going to be able to use it in the GPT, where you guys have access to it, you guys don't have to. Like I don't want anybody to have to go build something. So what I want to do is get it first, and I'm going to play with OpenClaw, but I know that they're going to have a product at OpenAI that is basically Peter Steinberger is doing it inside of OpenAI. Since we're already using that, that's why I'm saying it's seamless. It should be, because it's not. It'll be offered in GPT. It's just I just don't know what it's going to look like because they just announced it. Like I knew who the guy was and I was pretty excited, But this weekend I'm having to learn how to vibe code and do all that. It's going to be pretty cool. And what I'm doing this weekend, like I said, everything I'm doing is for you guys. Build this up and give everybody more ability to. We're almost taking some of the manual part of it out because I do have to still explain to some people, like somebody asked me about, you still got to go and do a capture. You'll have Jefferson County and Arapahoe County. You got to do that. Just click real quick on that, accept terms, and then you got the NEDs in front of you. Yeah, some people think that they can automate that, and I said you're not really going to be able to automate going through. That's what those things are for. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do that, and that's probably allowable. It probably wouldn't get in, but it's when the people start trying to go through paywalls and things. Because I know one time I actually just did copy and paste over a shaded area that was paywalled on Crexy, which deals with commercial real estate, and I put it in here and it showed me everything that it said there. I didn't have to pay for it. And I just decided I don't really. I know it works. I'm not going to show anybody else because I don't want anybody able to, I was there testing out all the capabilities in July and August before I ever had anybody on this. Like, what can this do? Like stress testing it, like being able to stress test everything. Like I put in 300 and like all the funnels. You see all the stuff on Facebook. I'll go copy and paste and put it in here and reverse engineer it. Like so, especially like prop string and deal machine. I just saw one the other day, Curtis, that, about it was somebody who's like, okay, there was two examples, but one company was basically you could get all the distress intelligence, you could get the foreclosures and all that. But then it says, do you skip trace? No, but this company does, and we recommend them. Well, then you have to go pick up another subscription. They're like, do you do this? No, but these people do it. We recommend them. Then you pick up another subscription. They had like 4. So literally, people go to 5 subscriptions, and I'm like looking at the pricing of all of them. They're spending $1,000 a month, literally getting the same thing that everybody here gets now, doesn't have to worry about. So I said, people's concern is they have to do a little bit of manual work of like, downloading the NEDs. I mean, obviously, El Paso County had 84 in November. Yeah, it's a lot to go through, but if people have their buy boxes, and I think if we can dial in with these agents with using what OpenClaw has, what they're going to bring to OpenAI, we should be able to actually get those like fast, like really rapid fire, like right into your system. So imagine being able to populate your toolbox, your toolboxes without having to do, so it basically starts removing a lot of that, like the little manual stuff. So it's a personal assistant, and it actually goes onto your computer, unlike it's like in the cloud. So it actually can do a lot of stuff. And there's a thing called GitHub, GITHUB, and it's basically where he made his name. He built 43 projects. Right, and people said he failed on 43 projects. He came out today and posted a thing that listed all of them and said, these weren't 43 projects. I was building this to build OpenClaw. So he was going through all the trial and error, building up a name for himself, and people were like, he failed on 40, but his 44th is OpenClaw, and he just sold it for $100 million, and he probably got enough stock options from OpenAI to be a billionaire. That's probably what like Mark Andreessen was referencing, because he talked about it on this YouTube video he was on. Like I said, there's going to be a single operator, agent driven $1 billion companies that are in this world. So I think that's why I said I'm working on this weekend, and it's just those downtimes that you guys all know that are on my schedule when I used to watch football and stuff. Now that 4 hours I used to spend in Sunday afternoon, I'm going to be spending on OpenClaw, just learning it, because I probably use it in my personal life, but I want to learn what it is before OpenAI has it, so we can implement it. If it's going to really be, but I'm also not going to do it where I have you guys all have to go and build something else. I want to make sure it's seamless, where it's like maybe it's just adding it through the prompt bar or something like that. Otherwise, we can. I'm still working on all the solutions. So if that helps, I know it's a long-winded answer your question, but that's at least the direction I'm trying to go with it.
All right.
Cool. Hey, Christopher, do you have any questions? I know I saw you live for a second. Let me try to unmute you again before I start this.
Yeah, I had to mute because I'm a guy I rent to my house to in the back. He had to go to the ER, so I'm watching the kids now on top of sitting here with this. So I had to talk to the kids, so I had to mute it.
Well, yeah. Feel free if you got a question you don't want to come up or something on the, for mute. Then you can send it in a chat, or you can ask me tomorrow. We do these in 2 days, and what I normally will do is tonight is I will open it to like people who are considering joining, or the public. Thursday nights it's usually invitation. Like if you want to come on Thursday, you can as well. We do more. I go more of the infrastructure, the inside. What's going on inside, like the AI stuff and all that, and how to implement it. Tonight, it's really.
I've been messing around with doing my own GPTs, so I kind of have some of the answers from that.
Yeah.
Yours are a little more advanced than what I was building, though.
Well, because I had somebody that I've talked to in Denver, and he's like, "Oh, I got to pay GPT like you told me to, and then I went and did this, and why I'm not getting the same answers?" And I'm like, "You're forgetting that I have about 1,200 hours into this, and I've got like all this. I mean, I've got this all dialed in. Look at this, So I tell people that, so now the guy's finally coming on board. He tried to do it himself, and he realized he wasn't. No matter, because I'm not gonna give him the the onboarding, certainly. And I built a huge thing for it. But yeah, some people have tried to do it I was like, I literally feel like, and I had somebody tell me this that looked at it and goes, "You're like light years ahead of anybody else." And even the people that are doing anything with AI or chat, it is like, like I said, and there's not a screen. People, I mean, that since you got ChatGPT, I like it this way. I don't want to have like a screen that's all visual. People are working. It's like I don't want to have to, you pull up like any kind of a screen or something, like a really fancy, it looks like you're at the Pentagon's command center or something, like war games. You got all the screens and stuff. So I like this. So yeah, so comms mode is really important. We do 2 nights of it. So I'm actually going to do a 6-part series, probably when I know we can get a good turnout, because there's a lot to go into this. Comms mode is really, it's how, communication. So tonight we're doing more like the front office stuff. And then, of course, like I said, we're just talking about OpenClaw, stuff like that. That's going to be huge for us. Next week we'll do tax liens and all that stuff, treasurer deeds, and then we're going to do surplus and overbid. So, Curtis, we should get together over the weekend also and plan out the tax, so you can show me how you do your tax lien stuff or your IRS lien. That'd be kind of cool. So, and it says 90 minutes. We're not really going to go 90. So tonight we're talking about structural control. So it's front office clarity is your comms mode, and so you're engineering communication. You're not improvising it. So we want to bring real deals in, and so on Wednesdays and Thursdays, starting in March. On Wednesdays we're going to be doing capital intelligence room, and Thursday night's deal structure rooms. All we're going to be doing is deals. We're going to do a lot of complex stuff and work it out and do problem solving, so everybody gets a little bit built up. And then obviously if we get the stuff from like what OpenClaw is supposed to be about, because it's not going to be called OpenClaw in OpenAI. They're going to call it something else. Then we'll start adding that in. We'll start doing some engineering on Thursday nights. So that'll be cool, and that'll start March 4th and 5th, and that'll go the rest of the year. The only times we ever take off, we will take off if it's Labor Day. If it's Memorial Day Monday, we'll take off the Wednesday 2 days later. Same with Labor Day, same with July 4th. We'll take off that week. Thanksgiving, and then we take off the 2 weeks of Christmas. Other than, we do Wednesdays and Thursdays, so we don't really hit too many holidays since most of them are Mondays, just to let everybody know. So we're doing offer engineering. So when we talk about offer engineering, I have this all a playbook. And like I said, what I do is I'll go through this, and then I'll post the playbooks on the Facebook groups, so people can get tonight, because that way we don't have to go through and spend like 4 hours where I'm reading stuff. So there's a playbook for everything, and I put those in primarily the RCIC room, because if you go to the Facebook group, you'll see that I started putting stuff in there 5 years ago. There's like 300 things that don't have to go with the AI before that, since we started this 2020. But RCIC group is a lot more organized, and I also have the Patreon. So anything that I'm putting in here, will go into workbooks that I've saved, that I've made. I've made playbooks and all that stuff. The offer stack. So we talk about the core proposal, proof, risk reduction, urgency, and the call to action discipline. So what we're going to start doing is what we want people to start doing is start writing offers and bringing them into the group, and it'll help you write offers. Comms Mode. If you guys go to Comms Mode, in there, and that's one of those modes when you first get into the prompt bar. So, and I'll show that what our prompt bar looks like, since I know you haven't seen it, at least ours. When you go in there, you can ask for the different modes, and it'll tell you can ask for Comms Mode, and Comms Mode will actually help you write offers. It'll help you write emails, write texts. You can actually review how to get find things on the do not call registry, so you're not calling people, or it'll tell you what that state is, because there's a national and then there's also a state do not call registry. So you can also use the do not call registry, believe it or not, to skip trace. A lot of people don't know that, don't call people that are on there. But if you're looking for somebody, and they may be on the do not call registry, and you get their number, and that's a good way to skip trace. It's pretty cool. So like I said, Comms Mode will help with all this. It'll help people with marketing. You guys see me marketing all the time. I'm posting stuff all the time. It'll help you with visuals. And what I do on visuals, and you guys will see, let's see if I can show it in projects sometimes. So if you guys see where my projects are, I have RCIC Visual Image Generator. And so I basically have put one in project where that's where I generate all my, I can go over here, it'll ask for a visual prompt and get a visual prompt and get what you want and refine it. Then copy and paste it, go over here, set up a visual image generator, and then basically use that and say, please generate the following image. Because it's a lot more accurate than when I was doing this before, probably until November, December, really. So it's only been the last couple months. It would literally, if you're doing a full color, then it's maybe just got one line or a sub line. It would actually get busy enough where there'd be some typos, and sometimes you wouldn't see them. Like if you I'd put a list of stuff, and there might be 20 little things in there, and you don't see them right away. But if you look closely when you post it, you literally can. You'll see the typos, and it's hard to fix them. Sometimes you go and you can say, hey, there's some bleed over. I did one the other day where it was bled over, like it was like a visual. It's the one that's now that's my header on my Facebook page, and it bled over where like the first two words of real estate, for real estate at Capital Intelligence Community, were off the page. And so I basically went to the visual image generator, because sometimes I'll just generate them in here because it just does it in the main part. But if I go over there, it'll be a lot more accurate. So I tell everybody, set up in projects. Everything you want to do that you want permanent, that you want to work on is projects, because you can go 100, 200, 300 things deep. The best part is that whole project, if I get comms mode, like it's remembering all this stuff. You guys can see my comms mode. Tonight we're in this Zoom. I got my influencers, which we'll go over tomorrow night. And I got a lot of my, cold calling. I got a lot of different stuff in there. So you can go like 25 or 30 different topics deep. But the best part, if I'm here in the main one, it'll actually, it kicked you out again. It'll actually, he's having a problem staying in. It'll actually know everything in that project. Okay, yeah, he's having an issue getting back in. He's friends with all those people in Michigan. We got like 7 people in Michigan. He's like he goes to church with Rod and his wife. So him and his wife are looking to get on board. It's going to give us like 8 people in Michigan that all know each other. Listing conversion. So we want to go on, obviously, everything with listing. If anybody does like any kind of like listing or whether it's a property listing or like listing, what I'm doing out there trying to, build a group, build an organization, you want to have the hook. You want to show some proof and path. So a hook is outcome-based, contrast-based, constraint-based, while proof is numbers, specifics, and credibility. And then you got, one call to action and then a clear next step. So we're going to start doing these, like I said, on the Wednesdays and Thursdays. Well, we'll start writing listings and different things, and we'll start, we'll use comms mode. When we do that on those Wednesday and Thursday nights, we'll actually use comms mode. And I'll encourage everybody, what I'm trying to get everybody to do, if everybody has a way to do 2 devices without having feedback, is to basically have their laptop or their computer, if that's what they use to do the work, and then have some way to watch or something, or way to do, it's going to be up to them how they set that up. But that way I can explain things and people can actually be writing listings as we do, writing things, doing deal, inputting. And that might be another thing when you asked about things going into the updates when we develop something. Ideally it'd be better, if we're doing it live and then somebody can implement it right there on the screen. They can put it, they can do it like I just don't know exactly the logistics of that. So I've been kind of putting it through my head. So we're going to
just like for a newspaper, or
listing for
a listing could be for a realtor. A realtor would use that, or a private party such as myself to write something to market a property.
Yeah, I mean, look at like my grandparents' house. I could turn that into a full listing. And I use using Asians Gather, my friend Danny's website, he has a good thing for people who are like, if they're really out there selling the properties, themselves, like for sale by owner, they can subscribe. I think it's like less than $100 a year, and it's unlimited. And he can go on there, and they can go on there and put a full, like almost like an MLS listing, and it gets all SEO'd. So all of a sudden, when somebody's looking in, some city, and there's listings there, those listings are going to pop up. So there's a way to do that. So listings, we're going to start working on it. More than listings, there's going to be offers, like on these Wednesday nights and stuff. We're going to be doing a lot of that. This is what we'll be doing pretty much on the Wednesdays. Thursdays, because we want to be more detailed to be on the structure, deal structure. So we'll be going in and putting in, like, there's all the stuff for calculations. If people want to do a syndicated deal I have a deal analyzer, do all the numbers, put all the numbers in, and then basically show how RCIC can run it, and they can do all the stress testing. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I've done in it that it's like too much for me to show on screen. Like some of the PDFs and stuff that I've generated, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going into the RCIC Operator OS, which I'll talk about more tomorrow night. And it is going to be a second GPT that everybody in the group now currently will get that code as well. So I know we got one now. People got to learn another one, but people won't have to learn that one unless they're really doing larger deals, like the people doing multifamily or doing syndications or buying a lot more commercial or things like that. They'll have an opportunity, to use that one. But people can go back and forth, because you can have as many GPTs as you want on there. Then you can just go back and forth, because there's just going to be too much stuff. I'm gonna have to make another 20 PDFs, and it only allows you to have 19 plus the general PDF that you make. So it's just so much stuff going on with the OS OS is like everything I've learned about RCIC that I can't do with RCIC, because we're going to run out. I mean, we can only put 20 PDFs. And what happens is, those PDFs that I've showed everybody that I have I go and revise them, so I get an updated one. So some of those are now 10, 15 pages, little PDF that are in there giving instructions. And like I'm trying to get one. There's one for the TC mode. There's one for comms mode. There's one for, so that way all this knowledge, that's how the knowledge is in there. That's how we train stuff. And that's what I was talking about, Curtis, we're talking about if you do your own GPT, we set that up, and then we, help you set up the PDFs that you use for your knowledge. Because you're doing whatever you're doing, that will drive your GPT. People don't have to have all people like part of it. They can, but people can run their GPT to be out there to even be more powerful than what you have just being in the prompt assistant for RCIC. Then you take it to a whole nother level, but you can then take everything. So if you're on RCIC right now, then you could actually just take whatever you want from RCIC and then go to your GPT on your, it's the same login. It's the same screen. It's like I can go to all those GPTs that I showed everybody that's in that directory that they had. I can go and download all those GPTs, and you can go back and forth. So it'll list them here in the same section where I have my GPTs. You can explore, but these are all ours. I got 3 for the 8. This one, that's our marketing one. And then I made a backup, but here's Operator OS. But I had to make a backup for Prompt Assistant, which is this. So you could have RCIC, and then you have your own GPT, Curtis, so you can have it, and then you can pretty much just copy and paste everything. And then, like we were talking about, like, am I giving you updates? Well, now you could actually take the update right from RCIC and put it in yours.
Okay, that sounds good.
It's that's what I'm talking about. I want it to be seamless, because what last thing was have anybody have to go and, kind of in that first week, everybody's kind of like, I need to tweak, and they have to hit me up on Messenger and stuff. Because like I said, my biggest fear about getting a lot of people on is that I become more tech support than builder or developer. You guys want me building and developing because everybody loves what was happening, but I've got to also be able to know that, if I bring on 10 people this week, I could be having 25 or 30 conversations over the night.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just becomes like, it's a thing. Like I was saying, if I think of these open cloud with all these multi agents, can I use multi agents myself to help you guys. At minimum, what I'm trying to do is that we can service and build this better. Ideally, I would like people to actually use it if they can, if they don't have to go in, because there is I don't know how technical it goes into coding. Like it does codecs here. I'm using codecs and I'm going to be using OpenClaw. And like I said, the reason I'm so excited about OpenClaw is everything I've heard about it, but it's going to be OpenAI, so it's going to be available to us at GPT, and they're not going to put it in here if it's not going to be easy to, I'm not saying that easy to use, but it's not going to take somebody who has a computer science degree. It's
So is a Codex and OpenClaw and OpenAI all based on the same coding, or are they different?
Well, OpenAI is the company. It's not the ChatGPT.
Okay.
Is the product.
Okay.
Codex is here. You see it on the left.
Right.
Yeah, and I've just started playing with it, and a little bit. So that's Codex. It's just like Deep Root.
I know we might be getting off track on your presentation. I
Dude.
don't mean to do. Okay.
Christopher's trying to come on board. He's he and his wife are realtors. He's trying to leave being a realtor behind and just going to investing, and then his wife's staying on the realtor side. Like I said, they came out of that same group with James Pratt and Brandon and Rod and Kelly. Rod was on last week. Those the same group.
Oh, I didn't realize that he wasn't on board yet.
I will generally only invite people who aren't on the Wednesdays, but he's in that group with 7 or 8 people, so it's just him and his wife.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's why you mentioned that. Okay.
Yeah, because I've basically because Rod told me he's trying to get a few more people on. Like James Pratt and Brandon joined in late September, early October, and then like a month later, all of a sudden, like in 3 days, I had like 7 people just out of like hey, they just Rod and Kelly joined, and then a few other people in that group, and then I had Scott Atkin, who's been in for almost 2 years. We didn't have RCIC then, but he's the ATF agent in Michigan. So we're gonna have with him and his wife, we're gonna have like 9 people in Michigan, which is great. And I built a Michigan guide for them. Here's all the AHJs in Michigan, and Michigan's like Colorado. It's pretty wide open as far as AHJs go, and not having to do list pendants where they can use they use the NED. They call it the node, the NOD instead of a NED, but it's the same thing really. It's just a different name. So I'm pretty about that.
Well, I'm thinking about, as far as methodology, that I'm finally getting closer, that instead of trying to deal with California's restrictive policies on, information, that Colorado is wide open. And I think I'm just going to concentrate on the state of Colorado to get things up and running, to kind of shake things out, and to fine tune my development and the processes, that kind of thing. I think instead of hitting a brick wall with having to do, in addition to trying to tackle all the firewalls that California has put up to get information, and even Nevada is a little more cumbersome, it seems like, than Colorado. I think Colorado is a perfect place to kind of test things out and smooth things up.
For now, because they're
until they cave in and go the way of California.
Yeah, because there's some. I have a little inside track with my brother being in the legislature.
Right.
My dad some stuff and my brother was a Republican. He calls himself a Truman Democrat now. He's kind of like in that, the old blue dog Democrats that were like.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my parents.
He used to run because he wasn't going to beat out the guy who actually happened to be a friend of mine for the state rep job. Because my brother was just one of these guys who just doesn't like government inefficiency and all this, like there was a whole thing with the school board that they were meeting behind people's backs, like they weren't scheduling the meetings, they were going off to a resort or something, and my brother sued them and he ran for that. He just does. He's a Marine Lieutenant Colonel JAG officer, retired, so he's kind of like my brother doesn't have a sense of humor, put it that way.
Okay.
Other videos.
Well, if there's a way to monetize information, the states are going to do it eventually. And, it's same with title companies. Title companies used to be wide open. When I was doing a lot of deals in the 80s, I would just get all kinds of information for free,
That's
the
what I was
chains of
talking about.
title and
That's about what Bill said.
property profiles, all those things were when I would call, the title officers would know what I wanted, and they would just produce it for me and send it to me in the mail. And it was, a ton of information that helped me quite a bit. And
Now,
now you almost have to open a title order to get that stuff.
because I went to the Taj Mahal, which is Jefferson County's government center,
Uh,
and I went and talked to the clerk and recorder who runs the public trustee for Jefferson County that we visit with the off ramps. And I went and talked to somebody there, and they said, if you were to come in and ask for us to print you stuff, you're paying for it. It's like they have a fee, but since it's online, Jefferson County decided years ago not to charge for anything that was on. They just made people do that little click. I accept the terms.
right, right.
There's some things that are paid for if you want to do it. There's a fee schedule, but for that they said they're not. That could change up to the commissioners. The county commissioners can change that. They don't have to need the state or anything. Colorado's just going to probably go a little bit stricter on some things, like against landlords, because one of my brother's colleagues is his mom got foreclosed on, so he was going to law school. So he decided to specialize in foreclosure and eviction law, and so now and he's like that guy in New York. They just got elected mayor, and my brother said the guy's gonna, he's trying to get stuff on the. They don't know if it's going to happen this year. It'll probably happen.
Yeah.
It depends on the direction of the election this year in Colorado.
Yeah.
Stuff I hear going on, but my brother's told my dad that a little bit of what's going on, and they have an apartment over my dad's collector car garage, and my brother comes up and uses that for a couple of days when he can kind of get out, because Highlands Ranch is in the southeast part of Denver. It's actually in Douglas County, and so he comes up when he can get away for a couple of days. And not during the session. He's at the Capitol 6 days a week, which actually kind of sucks because he's had his three of his cars, one vandalized, and two cars of his cars had their tires slashed. One at the Capitol, and I'm like, you'd think the state Capitol would have better security.
Yeah, you would hope.
Yeah, they don't apparently. I talked to another friend of mine who's actually I actually know, like, I went to 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I went to a military school in Kansas, and one of my friends there, he got elected last year to the district next to my brother, which is kind of weird how that happened. So we're on a campaign. So we're talking about messaging is not a campaign. So and like I said, there's a playbook for this. I try to do, you already know how I do this, but that's like the playbooks and stuff, have all the detail how to do these. But we're going to be doing all these on the Wednesdays and Thursday nights starting in March. So everyone wants to have, like, we'll kind of go a little bit more up front. We'll skip ahead of that one because that one's a little bit more. So getting the messaging system, front office and back office. So everything in front office is like messaging, communications, marketing, promotion, all that kind of stuff. SMS openers, like we're going to have like what the SMS for texting, what the follow-up should be. It's really good because it does all mine. So you go in there and you ask it to help you can write some text messages. It's then going to ask you if it wants you to write. It can write your follow-up in different scenarios, so people can have them already canned. And what people also, for anybody that's watching that's not on, what it's also is you can ask, no matter what you're doing, even if you're not just doing the comm stuff, anytime you're writing stuff, you can ask it to humanize. And there is a GPT that people can download from the GPT store for free that also is a humanized. So people can, because there's a lot of that going on with like writing and stuff like that. So you can have it write it in like a human, where it sounds a little bit more. One of the problems it had is it had a lot of hyphens, and there were some things that were code when really that got through about Model 4. We're into Model 5.2. Right up through about Model 4, they had issues with that, with hyphens, where people would notice, they know no matter what, it's written by AI.
Yeah.
Now it's starting to humanize it a little bit. It can also help with voicemail structure, so people can read. It can write a script for voicemail. It can write a script for any kind of anything. I don't like strips because I don't. There's a couple times people will see me when I do those things on like Saturday night when I call it the No Fire Fireside Chat. I'll have my phone right in front of me and the computer's right here. Just like what I'm in now. And that looks like I'm kind of like looking over it to read it, and I don't really like that.
Yeah, when you need scripts, or when they might be most useful, is when you're just starting out, when you're learning, you're not quite sure of how to approach a subject or a person or a potential client or whatever. And instead of having a human mentor, which is, I think, the best way to go. But if you don't have availability of a human mentor, then a script could almost be like a mentorship until you really get a firm foundation and you're not really needing the script as much, or maybe just for, bullet points or something, where eventually you're going to know what you really want to convey, because the deal itself is going to instruct you of where to really emphasize and what to de-emphasize and where to go.
And that's what I
And
said with learning mode, which we haven't really even gone over yet, because learning mode has that. Because people have asked about mentorship, and I'm like, instead of going and get one of these gurus that's biased, it's going to tell you their exact system, and in 30 days you'll have a deal. It's like, why not just get the baseline? It's going to give everybody the information. It's incredible what this thing is doing. And it's
yeah,
like I try to tell people, it's like if people want to go learn about, you want to do an RV park deal, you've never done one, have it teach you how to do RV parks and how to go out there and find them, how to everything you need that you learn from fix and flips. A fix and flip is probably more basic than anything that we do. People can it's a little bit more easier to figure out. I mean, there's obviously components, rehab, and all that stuff that people get in over their heads. But it's not like doing a syndication or doing an assisted living facility, because my assisted living book, the little 10-page white paper that I have in my desktop that I did put in RSIC, I have two parts of it. I have the real estate portion, and then I have the care plan, because if people are doing assisted living, they need to be able to do, they got to know about ADA, they got to know about billing, like insurance company billing, VA billing, Medicaid, Medicare, all that stuff, insurance versus just straight pay. So I put in there like all the links and stuff and where they need to go to research that. So now if they want to learn about assisted living, it'll go run them through how to set up the billing, how to, things like that. It helps them. Because I wanted people to actually get more than just the real estate side in some of these areas, running self-storage, running multifamily. If you get in these larger complexes where people, they have to do laundry plans, like if they have a laundry room, and people they don't have washers and dryers in the units. Well, how can they monetize that? How can they monetize vending? How can they monetize coffee? How can they
yeah,
monetize cable? There's some companies that actually the multifamilies get a percentage of the cable, or when they did have cable bills. So there's different things, and there's I forget exactly, there's a term where, and I forget the one. I think it's called RUBS. It's a utility billing system, and it basically what helps them actually kind of, if they have like 100 doors, 100 units, they can actually control the utility costs and they get a cut of it. It helps them actually, it's like cost segregation. So all that
mhm,
is in there. That's like a lot of the stuff I was doing in May and June before, because I was building and building and building all this stuff to put into that website. And then there was going to be too much for one website. It was going to take like three. So luckily, RSIC came out of that, and it's unlimited. So this is really cool with all this stuff. So we'll have a messaging vault to store everything, and I'm working on that now. Where there'll be a lot of pre-canned stuff in comms mode, where that and it'll probably be, I have to revise the comms mode PDF knowledge PDF. So there's a lot of the messaging that'll be, and then it should be almost plug and play. Just like it may not say specific, but it'll give everybody like, it's kind of like those ad libs or those fill in the blank games people play with, like when they're kids in school. At least,
yeah,
yeah, like the prompts. So there'll be a bunch of those. It can help people write letters. It can help them write offers. The doc ops is something it's going to be split between TC and comms mode. It's going to be available in both. And it's basically right now I've put over 250 documents. It could be LOIs. There's 3 different documents. We got one for cash, we got one for seller carry, we got one for sub two. But people can modify them. All the documents, contracts, contractor agreements, all that stuff. People can bring them up. It'll bring them up on the screen, and they can revise them. And they can save it to PDF and Word, all out of Comms Mode and TC mode. And it's some of it's there now. Most of it is. It's just now having to go back and, it's also I had to put guardrails. So people start getting into the TC stuff, and they start getting into some legal stuff. Or it'll ask them now. TCs have a separate onboarding. I'm trying to do different onboarding now for the different roles. And it'll ask them if they are there TC for real estate agents or for real estate investors or both. Because if they're for real estate agents, obviously there's some states that require licensing for them. Most don't. I think there's only 10 states. But it will ask them. It'll basically make sure that they're not doing anything that they're not supposed to be doing if they're working on the real estate agent side, because they can't be, and even on the investor side, they shouldn't be like giving any kind of advice. They shouldn't be involved in negotiations and things like that. They can put the packages together and all that. That's what they are, the documents. The GC is supposed to cover that. So a lot of that stuff is in doc ops. So that's what we're talking about tonight. So obviously we're going to be talking about AI a lot more tomorrow, and I'll be doing this is the layer introduction. So being able to do custom GPT builds, and that's what we're talking about, like what I was just talking about Hugh Curtis and everybody else, is being able to do their own GPT. Because like I was saying earlier, everybody can take, they're on RCIC, we're building something live, or I built something, or then people can just go and take it and put it into theirs. But it makes it theirs more popular, and they got a choice. You can make it public, but people got to kind of ask it. There's some parameters. RCIC cannot be a public GPT. It basically, because we're doing a lot of this stuff, you have to go through a vetting process for doing anything with financial or anything, which I like OpenAI because they have that policy. They're not they go through and verify anybody that's doing any kind of, obviously the big companies don't have a problem with that, but so so we can't be a public GPT. This one up here is the Capital Readiness Thinking Group. It's basically just information. It's like Wikipedia. So it's a public GPT. Anybody can go to it, but nobody can actually. Ours is a private one. That's why we have that onboarding, that link. So when people want to do their GPT, I picture them. If we had 1,000 people, we could have 1,000 GPTs out there, and think about how powerful that would be. Like everybody's having their own, and then people can invite their own people on. That they're dealing with the same people all the time, and people are like in the same wholesaler, they're like in the same contractors. Then they can open it up and start bringing people into their own GPT world, which I think is awesome. So we're going to be doing a lot of prompt discipline. There's like 5 or 6. I think I've got like 10 prompts now that are generally, people can modify them. But we don't have to do a whole lot of prompts, like as in 4. Really in GPT-5, it stopped really being as formal prompts as it was at one point. Like you couldn't get information in 3 or 4, the GPT-4, without putting like a real serious prompt in. And then obviously internal AI assistant, which is what we're talking about, like what OpenClaw should be able to do. And we put this in. I started talking about this after the last couple of days when they came out and announced it, because it's basically an assistant. If somebody goes to it's free actually just to get their interface and just download it to the people can put it on their computer just like an app, that little and people go up and hit the add an app, and it'll go into their bar, their taskbar. It's so the idea is having an assistant that can do a lot more stuff, and you can deploy a lot more tools. But like I said, I'm still learning about it before we get into it. So tomorrow we're going to go into more into the AI and the influence. And so what we're going to be, we talked about like what people can build. So it's not marketing. We're building infrastructure is what this is. It's infrastructure. As long as, like I said, it's awesome. And so we're going to have, it's going to be really, as we get into RCI, the operator OS, it's going to be a third of it's going to be authority engine, a third of it's going to be a revenue engine, and a third of it's going to be the AI operations layer. And so those are the pillars. And then we try to help everybody build it into their GPT. Like everybody's doing this as a business. It's income, cash flow, and wealth. They're building wealth. They're building equity. They're building assets. So that's their revenue engine. But the authority engine is really is how they promote themselves, how they I forget what that term is. There's a term that's used with aircraft carriers, like project power. How they project themselves is the authority engine, and then the AI operations layer is what is going to be working. It's pretty much what we talked about. Like, how does the GPA how's it to do that with the information that is put in there, where you can't see what somebody else is doing? Well, that AI operations layer is what does that. It's in the programming that OpenAI has. So it's just helping. It's just incredible what it's doing. And so tomorrow, like I said, I'm going to take this up. I think we're going to have a few more people. I know Willie and a few other people are going to be on tomorrow night. Bill and I think Bill Danagelis is going to be on. A few other people. So we're going to be talking about AI influence and something new we're building. RCIC ops, operator ops, OS, which is right here, and I'll actually bring it up real quick because there is an operator OS. A structured operating system for real estate operators in the multi-agent era. Enforces deal standards, stress testing, AHJ scoring, execution tracking, and OPI discipline. So we'll talk about OPI and what that is tomorrow night. I'll talk about it. So people will be able to rescore an asset. They'll be going and this is really going to be like stress testing. So where people can still run everything through RCIC, they can come over to Operator OS and they can stress test underwriting. They can basically run all the checks. They can analyze portfolios. People will start getting into these larger syndications or larger deals with equity, private equity, and things like that. This is going to be a key thing for that. For doing a lot of, it's not going to be really for the fix and flips and the buying the rental properties or short-term rentals. This is going to be like really kind of like going to get a PhD, kind of is what I'm kind of picturing it. You get the associates and the bachelors get you flipping, wholesaling, things like that. You start getting the masters and then the PhD. This is going to be some serious stuff, and I'm building this with a lot of things in mind that I don't think that I can't put into RCIC because it only gives us the 20 slots for putting the knowledge GPTs in
what you have up now, RCIC Operator OS, is that something that I have in my RCIC, or is that still just resides in your RCIC, or is there a difference? That's where back to my point of confusion to begin with is what's shared and what's not shared, and if it's not shared, how do I get that?
No, I'll have the activation link just the same way that I did for RCIC.
Okay.
Like I said, this is not. I'm showing this, and I'll show this tomorrow night to get people like this is where we're going with this, because people
very cool.
Like, yeah, you guys are all good. You guys, everything we that I do, and that's what when you guys came on board, everything we build, you guys have access to it. Now, do you want to use it? Well, you'll have access to it. You can put it on yours. You may not ever need it, or you may need it sparingly. Some people may need it all the time because they're out there. They're doing deals where they need securities attorneys. Where they're doing syndications, they're doing deals where they've got to do cost segregation, or they've got, this way they're able to have access to more of this. I mean, it's incredible what I put together already. I mean, if I just went and scrolled down, Curtis, it would take me like 2 hours. Just
like that second box, stress test this underwriting and identify structural weaknesses, I would imagine what it's saying. But or breakpoints, yeah, fragility and breakpoints. Now, see, that's exactly the kind of thing that would, for my business model, would really amplify it and help.
Here you go. I can stress test and flag breakpoints only after the underwriting inputs are provided. Right now, you haven't given the model outputs assumptions, so I cannot compute the SCR debt yield. Worst case IRR, break-even occupancy, or fragility index. Below is the RCIC required deal intake minimum fields and the structural fragility and breakpoint map. I will run the moment you paste the numbers or update them.
Okay. And that all makes perfectly good sense because you have to have the bases in order to stress test. You can't just do it on thin air.
Yeah, and I'm going to be talking more about this tomorrow night. But you look at this will actually be like running rent and lease up fragility, execution sensitivity, debt structure, capex, construction fragility costs. I mean, this is some pretty much, this is like, here you guys calculations.
Yeah.
Exit cap breakpoint, rate breakpoint, AHJ link fragility gate. So per RCIC AHJ scoring, if AHJ score is 70, you must expand contingency and schedule buffer. Structural fragility occurs when underwriting assumes clean execution is a high friction AHJ. I will score permitting duration, zoning flexibility, fee predictability, inspection volatility, and political climate. And then basically, yeah, so it's not, like I said, it's not live yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. It's a very exciting to see the direction that this is headed.
Yeah, because I think, like I said, a lot of people are like, I run, all these people like in Dealmaker, Jim Ingersoll's group, and all this stuff. Like, I don't know, it's like trying to see what we can do, and being able to now put open, whatever they call it in OpenAI calls it with GPT. It's going to be exciting because multi-agent will solve a lot of those things. I mean, imagine instead of 40 agents, you get 100 or two. Supposedly an agent can actually deploy other agents. And so you
Yeah.
have like a master, like almost you have like
That's
a
good.
manager that works for you. That's what he's talking about. Like Sam Altman is seriously talking about the possibility of, and there's probably going to be an Alan Peters, probably going to be one of them. There's going to be one person that has 1,000 agents and they're $1 billion company, whatever they're doing for in tech. And like Elon
Yeah.
came out and said, in a couple of years, we're going to have surgeons that are better than human surgeons. We're going to have lawyers. I don't know. I'd trust a lawyer probably before I'd trust a surgeon that was a robot, because I
I
think
hope so.
you
Yeah.
could, you could probably feed AI every legal case ever. Like lawyers have to do
Hmm.
a lot of research. Imagine now and that. But the problem has been there have been lawyers that tried it, and AI hallucinating came up with cases that never existed. A couple of lawyers got,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah.
yeah, because they were
You
trying.
start presenting those to the judge as evidence, you might get in trouble. It might be before the bar if you're introducing case law that didn't exist, but
Yeah,
that's
it's,
beside the point.
yeah, it's a great way to end your legal career. Here's all my
Yeah.
contacts too now. I got the AIs here, operator OS and all that stuff is here. But AI, I mean, it's just huge. So I got the OpenClaw overview, and it's just like, just real quick before we let's show you just how it's. I mean, this is really, it's just amazing. So here, the OS, using what Sam posted about, I'm going all in on pushing developing this. So it came in as, we talked about it. This is where the name came from, RCIC Operator OS. So I basically, when it was this, I'm trying to remember what day this was. I put this in. So that's what I put it in. It came out. It came up with the RCIC Operator OS, built for the multi-agent era. And it says Sam signal is clear. The feature is multi-agent, agents coordinating, agents executing, agents monitoring. And so most people heard cool, better assistance. Instead, you should hear operating systems will replace loose workflows. And so how it is, and so here's RCIC Operator S. This is where that came out of. The assistant era was prompt based. The agent era is system based. RCIC isn't teaching AI prompts. The RCIC is standardizing operator infrastructure so agents can run it.
Now, is OpenClaw that is it a standalone?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it is.
You can put just openclaw.com, I believe, and you can actually. I put it onto my. I actually have it on this laptop, but I'm going to run it on this other one primarily, because
And
it's, yeah. You
it's
don't
going
have
to
to,
be incorporated into
it's not
Chat
because
GPT.
it's not itself. Peter Seinberg is going to be building the multi-agent model that he used for OpenClaw. Because one of the things is like he got in a bidding war. I mean, literally the last month, you can see there's a lot of like tech YouTube channels. You can put his name in there, and it comes up with all his interviews. He built up such a huge bit like viral that all of a sudden made Mark Zuckerberg going after him, Google's going after him, everybody. The reason he went with OpenAI, they offered him. Somebody said they gave him $100 million to up front, and they gave him like almost $1 billion that when they go public. Obviously, OpenAI is going public, and then he was allowed to basically leave it open because it's open source. So meaning that he was going to lose a lot of the fans that were his supporters. He didn't want to like lose that. He would have gone with a different. He said actually some companies made stronger financial offers, and he's from Austria. So he's not, So he said he's able to move to San Francisco. One company wanted him to go to London, and he would have to take an English test to move to London to get a work visa. Where obviously Sam Altman is dealing with President Trump, just like Elon is, so he can get his, he can come here and work for OpenAI. So it's going to be an OpenAI. That's why I said the reason I'm getting open, and I'm trying to tell people feel free if they want to go in and start working on OpenClaw. It's not going to be OpenClaw in OpenAI. But I'm learning it. I'm getting it because I want to at least have the institutional memory of seeing what that is, because it's going to be probably pretty close to what he's building there. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bought him. They would have done that deal for him. I mean, he's like literally. Sam Altman called him a genius. There's also a cool video I should send you the YouTube video because I mentioned Stargate. So they're building the data centers. There's one being built in Abilene right now. It's 1,200 acres is the data center construction site. There, at any given day, there are between 2,000 and 2,500 construction workers on the job site. It's the largest commercial job site in history, building a Stargate data center right now. There's going to be 400,000 chips, NVIDIA chips, in there powering it. 400,000. They're building more of these. And then Elon's doing the same thing, but Elon wants to put his into space with his Starlink. So there's going to be a lot of these data centers, and they're talking about that they use a lot of power, they use a lot of water. They're talking about now ways where they can generate power to put power back into the grid. They're also talking about nuclear, like Anthropic, which runs Claude, wants to do nuclear power, and these people are spending. So like SpaceX is going to go public this year. Elon's going to take it public. If he was to take SpaceX public, like he has Tesla, and he was to take X back public, because it was that public when it was Twitter when he bought it, he would be probably worth about $2 trillion.
Have some spare spending cash, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Did you ever see the joke? Yeah. He goes like, I only have $100 million liquid.
Buy a few solar systems while he's at it.
But no, this is where we're going, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow night. That's why a few people are, because they're really, I'm trying to let Willie and those kind of people, because think about being a TC and having to help manage all the investors, and they might have Jay Holder. I've been trying to recruit him like everybody's trying to recruit Peter Steinberger. He's doing 50 deals a month as a TC, and he's looking for something that has more structure. And he says ideally it has. If I do this, then you guys can actually literally have these agents do like almost everything but your human oversight, and everything still needs human touch.
Yeah.
But it's like just exciting what people can do with this. And I've already seen in an OpenClaw Facebook group where somebody was talking about doing they're like, it's like something with real estate. So I'm like, well, I'm already working on it, so I might as well do it this weekend. That's why I kind of jumped into like, I got to get this done like Friday afternoon.
Yeah, you want to be in front of the curve on that one, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, because I asked it about this guy. I don't know if I did it in this one.
Oh no, is OpenClaw, can it be incorporated into Chat GPT, or is it going to be always separate, or utilize Chat GPT in some way?
OpenClaw will still be separate because they're allowing him to leave it open. That's why he went to OpenAI. They didn't require him to absorb it into OpenAI where they take it over. He's still allowed to have it as his, outside of OpenAI. What he's going to be doing is going to be into. I could ask it directly, but I was going to go this tomorrow night. He's going to be building what he built for OpenClaw into OpenAI, into the GPTs.
Okay.
So I think that will make it seamless. Where I honestly think if people are building OpenClaw, it's not as seamless. Like it's going to be like OJ's glove. You know,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
it's going to be like, yeah. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
excited.
That helps me
Because
clarify
if
a
I
little.
was going to
Thank you
be,
for that.
like I said, if it was something, if we're, I don't know, if it was required, I probably wouldn't even be looking at this. I'd be still trying to overcome it using the GPT system, and we've come pretty good, but there's still a few things that we can't do, and I don't know if we can. We can't, and we're never going to go. I'm never going to let go. And I always tell it, don't let it go through captions. It's not going to let people do that. I mean, not captions, but paywalls. Captions are a different story, but that's why I have captions, and I have to explain that to people. They're like, I like to have all this stuff, where we have to go and actually go get the NEDs from the AHJ on the off ramps and bring them
Hmm.
back and all that. People, there is a possibility you can bring more of that stuff directly without having to do that, but I'm not sure how that looks. And I think with what we do here, expansion, I think we'll be able to do that. And I think
Okay.
people will have a choice. The OS system, operating system, is really just really, like I said, it's more like underwriting, and it's more like dealing with the family offices and hedge funds. I'll probably put those databases there, but we'll leave obviously the lender databases will stay in Capital Passport. But very few, there's hardly anybody in our organization now that needs family office and hedge funds because that's so. And I could probably open up the OS to people outside of real estate who are looking to do larger deals outside of real estate. So that's exciting for me because I can open that up, which further brings in people to the organization that can maybe be interested there. Maybe they're a private lender. They're doing something in medical or something else, and they got money to invest in real estate. Well, it becomes symmetry for us
Mhm.
to basically open that whole door. And it's not going to take me very much because it really didn't. I've got most of it built now. You saw. By the end of this weekend, I'll have OS ready. My whole thing is to have it live by March 1st and give everybody that's in the group now by then give them the Bitly link for that. And then I just don't know what the onboarding process is, but I probably won't have that till almost time to make the donuts, as that commercial used to say. And that'll be March 1st next Sunday. So, and then I don't know exactly what's going to happen with all the multi-agent. I'll go into that tomorrow because tomorrow's morning, my work tomorrow morning, before it will be a lot of, first I'll open it, I'll process the Zoom, get it up on YouTube, get it out, and then I will basically focus on tomorrow night's comms, and then I'll spend a couple hours working on what's going to happen, researching what it looks like, because by now there's probably more direction from OpenAI and what's going on there with and there's a Reddit group for it and all that. I got on a Reddit, so I joined the OpenClaw and the OpenAI groups, so I can start seeing what people are talking about because there's and people have friends and they have friends and they talk, and so I like to
Yeah.
see more
Yeah.
what Sam Altman and I think his partner's last name is Brockman. Forgot his first name. They're on Twitter. They're pretty big. One of the coolest things about this, Curtis, is these guys talk to people. I'm on Facebook now. Like my whole Facebook has been rebranded for this. These guys talk to each all the time, and I'm like, I've seen Mark Andreessen talking to regular people like me, about what's going on, and that's what's really encouraging. It's like, you think a lot of these people. I mean, I'm sure they're not giving away like proprietary and intellectual property stuff, but that's what's cool about it is they're all out there talking to people and doing telling people it's because AI is people were scared of AI because of all the movies and all the stuff
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
take over the world. Yeah,
Well, it's almost like a superstition or
yeah.
an old way of thinking, that it's taboo. It's something that's not human.
Because
It's
people are like, I want to fight it. It's like good luck with that.
yeah,
Like someone
yeah,
trying to fight a data center. It's like they're not gonna win when the government's like then they got SoftBank and Oracle and I mean there's like 5 sovereign wealth funds and SoftBank and Oracle and OpenAI they're all working together on theirs and then Elon's I don't know he probably can fund it all himself his own stuff. There's other ones they're all Meta and all that stuff is good. Google's obviously Microsoft. I think Apple is doing some stuff. It's
hmm,
pretty amazing what they're doing. And I don't know. It's just like I said. You can just research the open cloud because it's something you can put on your computer, and it's just like and it's free at least there. Then you people can see it. It's just there's a lot of stuff I kind of understand it, but I've got to kind of spend some time with it to know what I can do because
Right.
I don't need. I'm looking at what focused on what helps all of you guys first. What I can do to make this because everybody's awesome right now. I mean, everybody's kicking ass. The reports I'm getting, I have not getting anything negative. We have the tweaks, but I tell people that we're gonna. I told Christopher that this morning because he's talking to his wife about getting on board. I told him, yeah, it's like we have a few tweaks. We're gonna always have a few tweaks, and sometimes it's just people are doing something. Maybe they start working a little ahead of the onboarding. And I try to tell people because people were like, "Can I? Does it really take this?" And I'm making like a 7-day plan now for everybody to onboard. It's a little different, and I'm trying to say that, you're not. People are expecting to turn it on, and be like, you turn on tech or you turn on something that's it's there, it's all done. It's done for you. You don't have to do anything, and it's not what it is. Where people are expecting these screens like a visual, like you get a TV, where
Right.
there's some people are expecting that, and I have to explain to that that's not how it. You've still got to do a few steps in it because somebody was asking me about this guy in Colorado I was talking about who wants to do. He wants to go and get treasury deeds, and he wants to get them from the small counties like Jackson and Gunnison County, which is in Central State, and Jackson's up by Steam. Well, Jackson County, it's up by Steamboat. Moffett
Hmm.
is Craig. Those kind of counties where they're not going to have a lot of. I mean, they're going to have foreclosures, and they're going to have like everybody else. But Jackson County is not going to. They might have one, four, maybe 3 or 4 foreclosures a year, maybe.
Well, what is this person looking for?
He's doing treasurer deeds.
Treasury deeds,
Yeah,
which are that's property tax. Is that
yeah.
still
But
okay?
they're the same way in these small counties. They don't have like you go into Jefferson or Arapahoe, and they obviously have sections. They have the foreclosures. Then you go they don't put them.
Right.
They don't put them all together. Whereas in some of the smaller counties, there might be one foreclosure and 2 tax liens, and they might have them all together. So
Right.
his thing is he's trying to get these smaller counties because he's like, there's no competition. They can go in and get Jackson, or they can get Gunnison or Teller, which is where Central City, where the casinos are outside of other than the ones in Gilpin, and he wants to go to those smaller ones, and he also likes community newspapers because, like I was showing, how Golden Transcript is where Jefferson County advertises because obviously they all have to advertise somewhere, and he wants to go into those small newspapers like Colorado Community Media, which runs about 30 newspapers because Evergreens has theirs. It's a company that bought it. And there's like 4 or 5 companies that probably have 150 of these small community newspapers, but some of them don't advertise as well. They don't have this online presence. Like Colorado Media, and then there's another one that has like Summit Daily. They have the Steamboat one. They have Vale, Asp, and there's another company that has all those up there. High Country, which is like Granby and stuff. They don't. Some of those don't like. It's harder to find information on them online because the papers are online, but they don't have like. If you buy the paper, obviously it's got everything in. It's a newspaper, even if it's small.
Yeah.
Our Canyon Current Evergreen used to be like ridiculous. It had the 3 sections when I was a kid. Now it's like one section, and they combined everything, classifieds, everything into like one. They don't. They do monthly obituaries. They used to have weekly. I mean, it's like because the newspaper industry is kind of dead. But when the mortgage companies do their filing fee, they have to include. I think it's $12. They pay Jefferson County, and that's what goes to Golden Transcript, and that's just the newspaper that they run everything in because they just ship them over all their public, everything they have to public. So he wants to get those because he thinks that good, so I've had to it's kind of like with Fred, with the early detect, Fred wants lates, mortgage lates. It's harder to find if people aren't talking about it because they're not a public record. So trying to get it, he's able to now get 2 months. I don't think we're going to be. We've kind of agreed now that you're not going to. He's not going to be able to get. Somebody just missed one payment. Because a lot of times people miss one payment and they get caught up the next month or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of begs a question because once you're in default, whether you call it NED, NOD, whatever, it's a default. You default, and then there's a notice process that the mortgage holder they initiate the notice process. So now you have a notice of default, let's say,
Public.
but that is a public that's a public document, and it is publicized. But if you missed a payment and there is no notice of default yet, it may be pending, or maybe they may be sitting on it for 2 months. Who knows? But how do you get something
Exactly.
ahead of unless it's part of the credit reporting?
It's another one of those things with GPT because I try to, I've worked on it a little bit for Fred, when I was trying to onboard him, when I was trying to get him to come on board, and now it's working for him. And I don't actually know what happened at the light switch. And I'm not talking about his light switch. I'm talking about the GPT because all of a sudden now he's able to get him, and I don't know.
Because if it's not part of the public record, then it's got to be some record somewhere that could only be a credit report.
Yeah, and I'd have to find out from Fred next time. He may be on tomorrow night. He wasn't coming on tonight. I know that.
Yeah. So I'm just curious because to me that's the only logical explanation would be a credit report, and I don't know that that's necessarily public.
No, I don't think they are either because you will say
no, not without permission.
Exactly, but he's getting them, and the whole idea, the latest. And the latest, I want everybody in the group, I want them to get it when they publish. Because PropStream, Deal Machine, all these vendors are getting them at the same time, but they have a delay because they're having to parse them. They have staff, or they have VAs, and it may take a couple of weeks for them to get it out. They may have 100 people in that market. They may have 100 people in Denver that are subscribers that want the Denver stuff. They've got to go all across the country and divide and send that out to their people. Well, however their back office works. And so there's a delay. But then all of a sudden when those go out, and I'm sure that all those companies are getting the same stuff, how many people are calling at that point? That's when people start getting like inundated with letters and calls. So the whole idea is if this comes out tomorrow morning, Jefferson County releases theirs tomorrow. If you if you have it by 9 o'clock tomorrow, you might be able to be in contact with these people tomorrow and start and there's how do you approach them? It kind of gives you the how you want to approach it. And people can use Comms Mode. We'll talk about influencers tomorrow night for people, but it's like, how do people, how do they be able to communicate now before you got 100 people? And now if you get an NAD right now in Colorado, I think you're like mid-June is probably the sale date. I know the cure date's like in June. So even the intent to cure and the cure date, they're a week apart. And then you got like 2 more weeks after that for the sale. So people got plenty of time. They got March and April and May to work a deal out, try to buy the house. And if they can't, they can go to the mortgage company or their mortgage company's attorney. People were blown away that you can get the mortgage company, you can get the interest rate, you can get the arrears, you can get the original principal. I mean, all that. What type of loan, if it's VA, FHA, if it's a HELOC. It's amazing what it can do. I mean, like I said, a year from now, I was building the website, and it was going to be 3 of them. It was that's how much stuff I had, and the developers are coming back like, yeah, I mean, it was going to be like one website would be built and it had 4 components. It would be built last year in 2025. I've been working on the second one now. It'll be 2 more components, and this last one was going to be rehab and scope of work, only because it's regional, all the pricing. Well, I just now have it all. I mean, what I talked about with HomeWise and all the other stuff, we can now normalize that. So, like on my grandparents' house, we were able to dial in pretty good. I mean, that house sold for 1,260,000, and RCIC was saying it would sell for probably 1.1 to 1.15. So it
pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot of, they came up with the ADU and the different solutions. Like it wasn't the people bought it to live in it, obviously, when they bought it. It's funny how my mom and her sisters drove right by it because they didn't recognize it. They grew up there. My grandfather bought the house in 1953 and sold it in 2000s. Or we sold it after he and my grandmother, they died 6 months apart. So yeah, it's kind of a cool house. So I mean, yeah, I couldn't do it now, but when I was like, even into my adult, because they died when I was like 31. I could walk in that house just like my parents' old house when it was pitch black. didn't know where I was going because I grew up,
Yeah.
and now I can't do it. My parents sold their house in their first house in Evergreen in 2012. So and their house now doesn't get dark at night. It's a lot bigger, different house. So yeah, dude, I think where we're going is just incredible. It's like I'm almost thinking it's just I don't know. It's like hard. I just really think we'll be able to get a lot of with OS and with the whenever OpenClaw becomes an open AI. But like I said, it's not going to be OpenClaw. That's a whole different system. But yeah, I mean, go into Google it. It'll come up as open. You can download it or whatever. It takes like nothing. You don't have to like add anything to your computer or do anything. I mean, if you just want to look at it, I think if people want to use it,
Yeah.
how to do some things.
I don't want to get too sidetracked. I'm still plodding along, building on my RCIC and
Yeah, that's why I'm also like I said with Operator OS, I'm trying to be like everybody will have it. They can have the Bitly, they can get it, and then just use it when they need it for the bigger stuff and do more stress testing and all that things like that. But that way, it'll still be RSIC, will still be the basics. Because at some point, what I'll probably do is there'll be a higher price point for people who come on after March 1st, because they'll get OS and all that stuff, and it'll be. I mean, it'll be rising. I mean, literally probably $500 a quarter. It'll go up just so I can, because it's gonna be, it's gonna be incredible, especially if we're able to do all this multi-agent stuff. Because the
I
thing,
like that
yeah,
it's it can field questions from me when I get stuck or when I'm not quite sure of where the suggested path forward is. It gives me some pretty good information to go forward, and I'm not in any rush, so I'm just building this out. But I'm using the Chat GPT and RSIC to help me along,
yeah.
answering some questions for that I have.
So here's all this the stuff like those layers, multi-agent system and the orchestration layer, and then here's RSIC can lead and still will follow. Data schema. That's what goes into the codecs. Workflow templates, all the agent role definitions, agent certification, so it can get become an agent ready operator, multi-agent optimized, autonomous portfolio, shared agent templates. They got all the underwriting templates, capital raise. There's a lot of people that are going to be using this will probably be like raising capital to do larger deals, things like that. Asset surveillance agent. There's
See
all
all this capability, and the for me, my limitation is I don't quite know what box these capabilities fit in structuring a business. It's so much that it's hard to differentiate where they fit and where the maximum most efficient use of these capabilities are. And I could see each one how, okay, that fits into an idea that I have of how I'd like my business structured. But where in the matrix of everything does it fit? That is the hardest part for me. That's not the concepts, it's where it fits in the workflow and how to best put this structure together. And I guess I could just throw something together and then let it sort itself out by revising and revising and revising. But I don't want to go down that road. I want something more substantial from the outset.
yeah. And that's why we can. I mean, I'm trying to help you, get that narrowed down. Because I think with what you're doing, I mean, and then obviously, like I said, I'll get you rest of Colorado stuff. I think Arapahoe, El Paso, Jefferson. I can give you everything from like Fort Collins down to Pueblo, and then going west is Summit, Clear Creek, and then out east to Elbert, Watkins. And then you probably
Um,
got a lot of good area you can that you can develop opportunities in.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm trying to see what it pops up with, and then I always loved showing people this when I like this is where I can generate. I mean, it does everything. Like it writes letter. I mean, it writes everything for me. And I try when I do like articles or blog posts like on Agents Gather. I try to humanize them because Danny asked me to do that. And, he's like, "Hey, can you like humanize these?" Because it's like, I don't know, it's awesome. But he's built, he built Agents Gather out of scratch. There's a website called Active Rain, which is mostly like real estate agents and on that side of real estate. And he got into disagreement with them and didn't like how they were running things, so he started his own.
Oh, okay.
And he built agentsgather.com out of, I blog on there. He's got some good plans too. Like I said, he's got a primary listing service, which is like an MLS for everybody. And then he's got blog. People can blog on there. There's a lot of articles. He writes a lot of stuff. People can learn a lot of stuff about it. It's kind of cool. He puts some of his listings. It's pretty cool. His daughter was actually at school. She was off campus the day of the shooting, so I was fortunate she was not on campus when that happened.
Yeah.
So it's kind of her brothers both grad. They both play football, and so her brother actually heard it before her because she was off campus at a at a restaurant, whatever the kids go to, whatever. Right now, we used to go to this gas station over the hill from us that had like a convenience store, and we went off campus for lunch. But yeah, her brothers knew about it.
You just never know.
Yeah, it's kind of horrible. Cool. I'll take off the recording now. Let me stop. Actually, let me generate the text, and then I can. Because it's funny. What's weird is it'll actually process the Zoom. I'll wake up tomorrow, and then about 8:15, I'll have it up on YouTube.
And where is this on YouTube? You just do a search for RCIC or
I'll send it. I'll send you the link. It's on there. And then I do have some private videos that we made because some of these I weren't putting because everybody, I looked at it like people aren't, when they're paying, I want to make sure that people have access to it. And then I like public because you can choose public, unlisted, or private. And so a lot of them are unlisted just so I could give them to everybody that's in the group. But some of the ones that are public are on there. There's about 50 that deal with RSIC. I have almost, besides the unlisted ones, going back to 2022, I probably have over 500 YouTube videos that. A lot of them are just,
and are they under? If I did a search under RSIC, is that where most of them would be? Or
yeah, I can actually send you the direct link.
okay,
There's a playlist.
yeah, that would be awesome. I would love that.
There's a playlist. That's what actually Christopher did the last couple of days. He said he watched like 10 of the videos, and I'm like, I don't know if you watched the ones that went 2.5 hours recently.
Yeah.
People asked me about like, are you ever going to make these like edit them and stuff? I want them to be raw. I want people to come on and see this as like these are like work sessions. I want these sessions in March and April, March 4th and 5th to start and really be people are working on deals, and it maybe I have to be on my screen. You guys have to are doing something where you can watch or whatever. People can actually be working deals, and we can.
That would be cool.
That's what I want. It's just trying to get enough people because a lot of people still watch the videos. Like more people will probably get 50 people watching the video tomorrow. And a lot of them are in the group. It's just people have asked me before, can you do different times or if I want to do a day, and I'm like I can do one-on-ones, but I tried that before. I tried to sit there and hey, we can do it's trying to do different times. We tried to do one. Let me take it to